What's going on, guys? Matt here with my brother Ryan, and the Dodgers have gone off to a 8-0 start as they sweep the Cubs in Tokyo. They sweep the Tigers here at home, and then they sweep the Braves to force them to 0-7. And Ryan, it's been pretty remarkable. We already have two walk-off home runs from our two best players. Mookie doing it after the sickness, losing 25 pounds. Ohtani doing it on his bobblehead night. And it's just seemed like that kind of season and that kind of year. I mean, you win the championship, you have one of the best off seasons ever, and you literally have the best start to a season that a former champ has ever had at 8-0, passing the 1933 Yankees. So
Yeah.
it is an incredible time to be a Dodger fan so far in the season. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. Watching this team is really fun. And it's really interesting how we've gotten to 8-0 in a way that's like the most dramatic, scripted way you can think. Otani a walk-off home run, bobblehead. Mookie two home run game, including a walk-off against the Tigers after countless stories about how he's down 20 pounds and gone through this horrible sickness. People like were advocating for him to go on the IL just to take time off and get his get his weight back, so he's not just out there swinging a wet noodle. He has 3 home runs already. It's really something to behold, and we haven't even had the full lineup for like more than one game. Freddie's missed 5 now, I think. Mookie's missed 3. It's it's kind of the perfect storm for making the league as mad at us as possible. And frankly, the more that happens, the more you know that this team is doing the right thing.
Yeah, I like what you said about how they did it in the most dramatic way possible. I think they're also doing it in a way that this team is. I feel like they've won every possible way you can win. And what I mean by that, looking at the Braves game specifically, game one is just pure domination. They have their what could be their ace going on the mound. We'll get to Glass now in a little bit,
Hmm.
and they put up 6 on the board, just pure domination. The second game, they face the Braves ace, the former Cy Young winner. So naturally, they kind of struggle, but they get a great pitching performance from Dustin May, and they keep it close. The starting pitching is amazing. The bullpen is nails, and then you get that one big swing from your superstar. That's another kind of way to win a game. You stay in it, and then a big time home run. You only score 3, but you end up winning because your pitching staff. And then the third kind of win, obviously, you get that come from behind, amazing win. I mean, I think what stood out to me so far the most in this series and just overall the 8 games is we went down 5-0, and the way that the momentum is just it's plummeted because you hurt yourself. It was your errors. Usually when you shoot yourself in the foot, you're not going to come back. And even after that, I still was like, okay, this game's not even close to being over. And then Edmonds home run, Conforto's home runs. It's a team that is never going to be out of a baseball game because the bullpen's so good, because the lineup's so good. And I mean, it's scary because the Dodgers just are. They may never have a 3 error game again for the rest of the season, and they still managed to pull this game out. And they're just that good. It's one of those teams. But I mentioned the pitching for these recaps every season. We're gonna be taking a look at the pitcher of the series. So starting with this one, without a doubt, it has to be Tyler Glass now. I mean, that guy is a beast. If you've watched at all, you know that's my favorite pitcher. But he goes 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits and 8 strikeouts. He did have 3 walks, but it's the first game of the season, and this is maybe crazy to say because you have Yamamoto who won 3 MVPs in Japan. You have Blake Snell's won 2 Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
I truly think that if Glasnow is healthy and as good at if every one of our pitchers have their best stuff, I think Glasnow is the best of them all. And again, it may be crazy, but we just haven't seen a full healthy Glasnow season. And in this start, he was amazing. Like I mentioned, he only gives up 2 hits. The kind of pitcher he is like made for the playoffs because he doesn't give up hits. His
Yeah.
fastball, opponents hit like under 200 against it. The damage he does give up is walks and home runs. So maybe he walks one, fastball down the middle, shot that turns into instead of a solo shot, it'll be 2, 3 runs. But you're never gonna have an inning where you have 4 hits against him. That's just not the kind of pitcher he is. Which for me bodes what is better for the playoffs. So Glass now is an amazing pitcher of the series for me. But I also had to give love to Dustin May,
Hmm.
who came back after 2 years and struck out the side. I'm gonna make a video on that first inning because he did strike out the side. But I was really impressed with him, not just because he gave up 0 runs, but the fastball still had life to it. It looked really sharp, and then he was never much of a strikeout pitcher because of that 2C movement. Usually gets the weaker part of the barrel, but with the with his off speed developing, like I said, he struck out the side. The swing and miss is starting to get there, and I think it was cool that the two of them dominated back to back starts because like Snell, you know what you're gonna get. He's a veteran. Weirdly enough, with Yoshi, I mean, it's his second year, but oddly enough, I feel like we know what we're gonna get from him because been that consistent so far. Excuse me, May and Glass now are two guys that when they pitch, they're some of the best in the world, but they obviously have had trouble staying on the field. So if those two guys can stay healthy, because I really don't have questions about their performance because when they perform, they've always been amazing. If those two guys can stay healthy, then that takes the Dodgers from like a really good team to genuinely one of the best ever because Dustin May is your fourth or fifth starter. I mean, it's just nuts. And then Blake Snell, I mean, he got screwed by the defense. The only thing I'll
Yeah.
say, because if you know Blake Snell, you know he's always going to be better in the second half. The one thing I'll say is he did not get a lot of swing and misses today. So my eyes are a little bit open. Again, it's Blake Snell. I trust him to be the best pitcher in the world in the second half because he does that every year. But I'm have my eyes open a little bit about the swing and miss because I think he only got like three the whole game. So
Yeah.
again, the pitching over because and even in today the error screwed him. He didn't give up any runs. So yeah, those three guys pitched their butts off, and Glasnow was the winner. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the pitching?
Yeah. To get the negative out of the way early, I think Snell, his curveball still looked great, and his changeup, he had oh, who was it against? He had one really great changeup for a strikeout that was like perfectly executed. It's just, and also since we're talking about pitching, I could tie this into Roki Sasaki too. Both of them, and Blake Snell for this start, and Roki just his entire tenure so far, they haven't had fastball location. So no matter how good your off speed is, especially when you have a changeup like Snell does, or a splitter like Roki does, that relies so heavily on fastball location, if the pitcher knows, or excuse me, if the hitter knows that if the pitcher throws a fastball, it's not really going to be located, you can kind of lay off of the changeup slash splitter as well. So you're eliminating like two pitches from your arsenal by not being able to locate your fastball. So I'm not really worried about Snell because like we've really hit home, and really the folks that have had the opportunity to pay attention to him in his career, you know that this is just what it's going to be. No errors. Muncy two back to back and back to back innings, and Pa has dropped a fly ball. That didn't even get counted as an error, by the way. But like without that, it would have been a typical Blake Snell 5 innings, 90 pitches, like one earned run. And like that's just first half Blake Snell. That's what's gonna be, and I'm not mad about that. Glass now was incredible. You said a bunch about him. I love him, but I'll let your words sit there. I really wanted to focus on Dustin May. I won't get too deep into it again because I think you did a good job explaining it, especially with your video about to come out. But I, the emotion that he like showed, because I was at this game, I was lucky enough to be able to like watch it. It was like very real. I was wondering how it was gonna feel, and like when I first saw like clips from TV when he was in the dugout, and he was like kind of closed, literally eyes closed, looking up at the sky or like leaning against the wall, like really taking it in. And I always appreciate when athletes are able to be like real with themselves about how they feel, but really he like it really looked like the emotion like was flooding him a lot. And I guess I forgot how long it's been for him, that I definitely understood. I was like, that's cool. But then I was like, damn, it's been 2 years. And he was kind of like the promised next guy. Not as in the team promised that he was gonna be next, but like the fans see him and see how unbelievable his stuff looks. And he pitched in the World Series for us. Like he was an actual contributor as a rookie, like young pitcher, bullpen arm. Like he had big innings in Game 7 of the NLCS. There, like he was a very real contributor to the World Series run. And then he starts with like a pre low key Cy Young campaign in 2023. Arm explodes, and then it's like, or excuse me, that was like in 21 when he had that his arm exploded then, and then his arm explodes again in 23. It's just I'm really just happy to have him back, and he should be incredibly proud of the way he fought to get there.
Yeah, I'm glad you got into that aspect of it because I mean, he literally almost died, and
Yeah, I
again,
didn't even
2 years.
mention that.
It really hit me when he said 2 years. Like that's an insane amount of time to come back,
Yeah,
and to come back in the way he did. Again, he didn't look. It wasn't just like, oh, he'll get better as time. Like he looked incredible,
yeah,
and I mean, I think he's gonna be incredible all year long, and I'm glad you touched that aspect of it because again, in my video, I'll break down more of like the pitch mix. Again, I love the way the fastball looked, love the way the off speed looked. So yeah, really happy with Dustin May. And overall, I mean, real quickly about Sasaki because I'm gonna be talking about him all year long. I think a little bit too much has been put onto the shape of his fastball and the velo of the fastball, which is 100% important. I'm not gonna deny it. It is, but the biggest thing is just the location, like which I'm glad you said. It's the fact that he's not able to locate it for a strike and then throw the splitter off of it. Again, the velo, the shape is very important, but I think people are saying I think people are looking past the fact that he is nervous in throwing balls, which is it starts there. Then if he was throwing like if he was himself and his fastball was getting raked, then I think you look at the velo, you look at the shape of it. But the bottom line is he's incredibly nervous, incredibly emotional. He's crying in the dugout, and he just can't throw a strikeout right now. Which eventually he's gonna throw strikes. He'll come into his own. I think then I'll really evaluate him. But right now he's just a nervous kid who can't throw strikes, and I think it's that simple. If he's locating the fastball and then he throws a splitter off of it, then he'll be fine. So I think it's a little. I mean, again, he's literally thrown 4 innings, so I think it's a little early to really judge Sasaki right now. I'm just going to be patient with him, wait on him because we really don't need him to be special right now. We got, I mean, the best trio in baseball with Snell, Yoshi, and Tyler Glass now, and then like you said, Dustin May was awesome. So yeah, that's it for the pitching. The pitching, it's the best rotation in the league for a reason. We don't even have Shohei, don't have Gonsolin, don't have Kershaw. Is genuinely one of the most talented of all time. So
yeah.
that's that. I expect a lot of great pitching all year long. The lineup's been a little weird. I think it, and I mean that in a good way because of course we already know some guys are hitting, but we're not. I think Joe Davis today said we were ninth in runs, which isn't the
Yep.
ceiling of this offense. So the fact we haven't reached that yet is pretty awesome. But yeah, tell me who's been hot so far for the Dodgers? Who's been the standout hitter in the whole season, not just the series?
Yeah, I think obviously we can talk about Shohei, man of the night tonight. Again, we're recording the night of the Braves win, Braves series sweep, I should say. A lot of guys have had their moments. If you're going strictly by OPS, it's Mookie Betts. If you're going by impact, it's probably Mookie Betts. But I want to go a little off the beaten path, but also kind of not really. Tommy Edman to me has been the biggest guy for the like. We're talking about historic trajectory, historic pace, historic potential for this team. Tommy Edman being what he has been so far, he's hit 2 home runs, either like on both sides of the ball, both sides of the plate, excuse me. Like productive. He has multiple extra base hits as a lefty, and obviously Dodger fans, you watched the World Series, watched the playoffs last year. You saw how lethal he is from the right side. The left side is mostly just being able to have that platoon advantage. As you're coming up through the minors, just having the S next to your name in the lineup card makes you look better, makes you look more appealing. Being able to swing a bat from both sides is nice. But realistically, throughout his career, he's never really produced to a level that's like worthy of being a switch hitting like real big hitter. Like the platoon advantage, swinging like being able to hit lefties well is incredibly meaningful. Especially Dodger fans know there were some years even when they're very good they could not hit lefties to save their life. But there's so fewer lefties in the league that having that elite side from the right side against lefties only is a little tough. So that's a long-winded way to say Tommy Edman showing real life and like genuine contributing as a left-handed hitter really kind of changes the outlook of this team because you can have him batting high up in the order against righties, but then when they bring in, or excuse me, against lefties, but then when they bring in the righty reliever, especially like a power arm, he's kind of rendered a little ineffective. So being able to keep him high in the lineup for those lefty days and then know he has a chance to be legitimately productive against a righty is awesome. And also just he's just cool. I love Tommy Edman. He endeared himself to these fans, so like he's just a guy that goes in, gets the job done. Honestly, seems incredibly boring. Every interview is just like, yeah, you go to try to work hard. I love LA. It's like, and I love that. Baseball players are notoriously boring to me. So a nice, fun, boring, just good guy that hits home runs and is an incredible defender. You can't go wrong. Yeah, Tommy Edman is my hitter of the year so far. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, honestly, I knew you were gonna go there because he's by far the most like important. Because obviously, you knew you were gonna get with Shohei and Betts, but I mean, it's like for him to take that step up as a lefty against righties, that was probably the biggest thing. That was the biggest like realistic jump that could have happened for this Dodger team because
Yeah.
everyone else you kind of knew we were gonna get. Maybe Pajes because he has potential as a young player, but Edman developing that swing from the left side of the box is absolutely huge. And I mean, the power showing to it is unbelievable. I
Yeah.
agree. Michael Conforto,
I was
after a
gonna say, yeah.
huge day today,
Thank you.
his OPS is at 1.2, which, well, I mean, both of us were really high in him. I think if you look at those splits from at Oracle Park compared to everywhere else, I think we kind of figured he was gonna have a big year. But yeah, we talked about pretty much covered everyone who's hot. Now it's time to talk about who's not. And realistically, it's two guys. I also want to bring up Teoscar Hernandez. He's hitting 200 right now. I think it's kind of gone under the radar because the hits he has had have been for RBIs. I think he still leads the team in RBIs, and he's had all his hits have been big.
Yeah.
But he had a rough day today with I think it was 2 or 3 strikeouts. So keep an eye on Teoscar to see if he's slumping a while. He's kind of on the border. These two guys, everyone knows they're slumping. Of course, I'm talking about Max Muncy and Andy Paz. Muncy's hitting 120. Actually, they're both hitting 120. How about that? OPS is both in the 400s. Muncy thankfully had the huge game tying hit today, which was just amazing to see. And maybe that is the single hit that gets him back on track and hopefully comes forward. Andy Paz, it's tricky with Paz because he's having like good at bats, but it's hard to like every at bat feels like it goes 6 pitches and either strikes out looking or it's weak contact. It's a ground out, it's a fly ball. What I want from Paz is because he's very talented. Like I said, he's having great at bats. He's a talented hitter. I want him once a game in at least one of the bats to sit fastball and just try to crush it. It sounds kind of silly, but he's too much with the approach, with taking pitches, which again is amazing. I need to see him drive I haven't seen him drive a baseball since spring training. I need him to sit fastball and try to kill one once a game, and because that's what's missing right now. And then Max Muncy, we know Muncy is. He's been in slumps like this before, but other than the season after he completely just messed up his arm, he's never been bad. So I trust that he'll be able to get out of it. So yeah, they're both slumping. One, who do you think's more important, and then two, who are you more worried about?
Yeah. Long term, I'm looking Muncy, obviously, just because we know who he is in the playoffs. His last taste, Dodger fans' last taste of him was going over in the World Series, and obviously that sucked. He didn't look like he looked discombobulated, but also the series before, he set an NLCS record for the most consecutive times on base. And really, like, I'm gonna be short on Muncy because I don't have any concern for him long term in terms of this year. Two things. One, my barometer for when he's back, because he does have slumps like this pretty often. When he hits a home run and it's his famous bat drop or like he pimps it, that means he's seeing the ball well. He knows how it feels off his bat, and guarantee streak after he does one of those. So be on the lookout for that. First one of the year, you know he's going to be back. Second, Muncy is a role player, and we make basketball comparisons a lot because we watch a lot of basketball. Obviously, we love it. To me, Muncy production is not like depending on LeBron. You need guys that can step up in big moments, but you can't like rely on them. Muncy at one point, frankly, before he tore his UCL, he was one of those stars. That's why we want to keep him around because he genuinely was a top 10 hitter in baseball for a couple years in a row. But now he's just like a seasoned veteran that has elite plate control and elite pop. So of course he's going to be streaky, but he's going to give you NLCS runs like he just did, when Teoscar and Freddie Freeman were like 1 for 40 that series, like you need guys to step up. Guys, when you have like you're not going to pay everyone $45 million a year. You're not going to have that despite complaints about the Dodgers payroll. They're like, you have role players. You still need guys to fill in. That's what Muncy does. Sorry for the little rant. You could tell I really love Max Muncy. But now for Pages, they talked about this on the broadcast a little bit for Game 3. They feel like Joe Davis and Oro Hoshes were talking about how the hitting coaches were like actually saying a lot about like what you said. Like the approach has been night and day from his beginning of his career last year to this year. Like, do you remember that stat where he had like 0 walks and 40 at bats or something? But he was also at like a 1200 OPS in that time too. Like he was hitting the ball. And I think Pages, this is going to sound very simple, but it just like he needs to start swinging as hard as he can. Just try, like you're saying, it perfectly in conjunction with yours saying, like hunt out a fastball. Just this at bat, I'm looking at fastball, I'm trying to kill it. Literally, yes. Do that, please. Look for the pitch that you can destroy. I appreciate that he knows he's hitting towards the bottom of the lineup. You're going back, gotta get when you're going to the top. You kind of want to be a second leadoff guy almost when you're hitting 8-9 all the time, like so you could be on base for Shohei. And it is necessary. I appreciate that. But there's going to be players on base at all times because that's what this lineup is. There's no like hole. So he's going to see a lot of times where he needs to drive in the runs himself too. And I think he needs to trust that he is as talented as he is. Because like you said, those no walk stats from last year were funny, but also they were funny because he was still producing like crazy. He wasn't walking because he was attacking and aggressive. And I don't know. I feel like there's a balance between the slap hitter. Like yesterday, he had a 12 pitch at bat. It was really great. He was battling and battling and battling, but ended in the soft liner. So like, I appreciate the work, but let's try to kill some balls, man.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a positive thing because, like I said, he's right there. The approach is there, and we know he can do that. He has
Yeah.
incredible power. We know he can hunt on fastball. It's just again, I think he's in his head too much. Like the hitting coach said, just let it rip on a fastball because we know he has that power. And what's funny is as we're talking about the role of Muncy. He could realistically hit like eighth because I'm looking at a lineup without Freddie Freeman, and I see 4 guys, 1 dotting, with Otani, Betts, Smith, and Conforto.
Yeah.
And with Edman taking this step up, it's like, I mean, my goodness, like the lineup is insane. I mean, again, that's an easy thing to say. They're the super team Dodgers, Avengers, whatever you want to call them. But with Edman taking a step up, with Conforto being as hitting the potential that we thought he could, with Will Smith kind of being incredible. I'm surprised we haven't said Smith's name a lot.
Yeah.
Again, something else Joe Davis was talking about today. Something about his ankle was hurting, so he couldn't have the bat as high up or something like that. And he said he made the tweak, and he looks incredible. So, I mean, there is no pressure on Muncy. I mean, realistically, like you said, because Muncy's also old, and he's had a legit, like, great prime of his career of 2018, 2019, 2021. And the 2020 playoffs, he's incredible. That 4-year prime, he's one of the best hitters on the planet. Then he got hurt, and he's of old age. So he's changed a little bit as a player. Like you said, he's a slugger who has great control of the strike zone. And that's incredible if he's hitting 7th. Because, again, we face a lefty. Tommy Edman's an all-star against lefties.
Yeah.
Will Smith's obviously incredible against lefties. So Edman's probably in at 5th. And you put Muncy in that 7-8 role. He doesn't have to do too much. He can get on base with walks and home runs. So, again, it's kind of similar to like to a Sasaki thing where like you don't have to do too much right now. Just take it easy, no pressure, because we have 4 all-stars ahead of you. So
Yeah, Max Muncy's a
even
professional.
when we're talking about who's not hot, it ends up being positive because that's how freaking good this team is.
Yeah.
And so moving on, going forward, we're gonna do series recaps every year, and wanted to try something new called the Momentum Meter. For this time, it'll be just the whole year, so a full 8 games, how we're feeling. So there's 4 tiers, I guess you could call it. And after every series, we'll evaluate where do we feel this team is, what trajectory is this team on. So the first one, which is the lowest one, is unsure if we're going to win the division. Like there's doubt that we're going to be division champions, which is insane to say this is the lowest tier, but This is the Dodgers timeout. Second tier is we're one of the best teams. We're kind of the top three, top five. We for sure feel in that pool. We're one of the best teams in the league. The third tier is I think we're separated from whoever the second best team is. I think we are the best team in the league. There's no debate. And then the fourth team, you literally could only do this for this Dodger team is we are on a historic path. We could beat the Mariners record. We could go undefeated in the playoffs, something crazy like that. Like I'm talking historic path, and one of the best teams ever, if not the best team ever. So I mean, I said historic. They literally did make history. They had the best start to a season that a defending champ has ever had.
Yeah.
They're 8-0. Where do you think they are right now, those four tiers, after 3 series and 3 sweeps?
Yeah, I have a real sports talk radio take. They're at 4-1 at the same time. They literally are the most historic defending champ team in the history of 8 games of baseball. But also the Padres are 7-0, which is all. I think when we do our normal pod, we will talk more about like the league and stuff too. But something to watch there. NL West is unbelievable. The Giants are 4-1 too. Again, I have no doubt in my mind the Dodgers are going to win. I was kind of doing a little cheeky thing there, but it is like as much as this historic run so far has been amazing, and I don't see it like really ending this pace at least. It's also ironic that it was incredibly necessary that we had this start, because if we went like we would be a couple of games behind the Padres. And again, I wouldn't be panicking, but it is funny thinking about like how the level of competition, despite what people may think, in the National League has gone like incredibly high. So this like type of arms race that the Dodgers have been on, obviously it's taking advantage of other teams sleeping, but it's also pretty necessary. Like these other teams are very good. And I'll get into a whole thing later. I'm sorry for monopolizing a bit. But yeah, obvious, genuine, historic pace. And I don't see it stopping. This team has like been discombobulated, and we're here. So once we start getting whole, if we do, knock on every piece of wood available, it's gonna be something special.
Yeah, I mean, for one, genuinely, I'm not trying to just say it. The fact that the NLS is so good, like, actively excites me.
Yeah,
This is gonna because the MLB season has gone off to an awesome start. All the talk about the torpedo bats and all that. But I mean, the best division in baseball by far, the fourth place team. The Giants have only lost like one game or so.
hmm
Oh, actually, they're third. The
yeah,
D-backs
it's
are
the
fourth.
Diamondbacks.
But yeah, the Padres are a good team. I was a little, I mean, not worried because I don't care about them, but I was questioning the momentum was like really bad.
Yeah,
The 24 score innings, then you lose Roki to them, but they came off incredibly hot. Diamondbacks always thought they were a good team. The Giants, no one was talking about, but I think we kind of felt like they definitely had potential. So that's awesome for the sport. It's awesome for us that we're gonna play really meaningful games
yeah,
because I mean that makes it fun again. Like you look at the Braves. I mean those poor guys. I mean they might have just played. They for sure played the best team in the league. They might have played the two best teams in the league. I mean
yeah,
that's really tough for them. But yeah, I mean again, like you said, we literally did have the most historic start of a defending champion through 8 games. So it's hard not to say it's going to be historic. But the reason I say that is that it the Dodgers have already proven that they're a team that can come behind in any game. And when you have Tanner Scott, Blake Trine, and Kirby Yates, and you still have three elite arms, Kopech, Phillips, and Brusdar that haven't even come back, when you have that bullpen and a lineup that never gives up, it's going to be really tough to lose games. I mean, I genuinely can see this team winning 120 games with health. And
yeah,
it's not crazy to say if you have the health. Of course, it's all going to come down to health. But without a doubt, they're off to a historic start.
yeah. They've shown you can go down in about any way imaginable and win, or you could just start winning. Like you kind of explained it at the beginning of the pod. It's really something different.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean, again, literally could not have gone off to a better start. They start off 8-0, and just a quick preview into the next series. A pretty fun, pretty cool series coming
Yep.
up against the Phillies, had the second best record in baseball last year. The lineup, real quick, or the pitching lineup, real quick, is it's gonna be Yamamoto, then Sasaki, and then Glass now. Two questions. Number one, are you worried about this Sasaki start? And then number two, who do you? They're both pitching. You had to give the ball. Let's say this was a game 7 of the World Series. Yamamoto's pitching game 1. Glasnow's pitching game 3. Right now, who do you feel more confident in between those two?
Honestly, I think Yamamoto is on the verge slash has like made a genuine breakout. I think he's gonna be top 5 this year, and not even biased, like real stuff. He literally did it. He was in the World Series. He had six and a third, only gave up 1 run. Like Yamamoto, I trust with the ball over, I would say 99% of the league right now. Like genuinely.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, Yamamoto, like you said, I believe you said before we started recording, is leading the league in strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's one of the best. And the fact that we get like, oh, who's pitching this now? Oh, it's May. It's Glasnow.
Yeah,
It's
I was
Yamamoto.
just gonna say
It's
it
just awesome. But
is crazy.
I mean, a little worried about Roki because it's going to be in Philly against obviously great lineup,
Yeah.
tough place to pitch. Let's just hope he can figure it out for that one.
Yeah, he's got a. I fully sympathize with him, and I think especially like the immense pressure he felt back to back is tough. But he's been a pro before. He's handled scrutiny well in Japan, at least in terms of on field play, because he had a lot of it, especially when he tried to force his way out the first time. So he has the shoulders for this. One of these days it's gonna click, and against the Phillies, 1:05 p.m. on a Saturday, which means probably on Fox. So another nationally televised game. Yeah, he's got to play through it, but I really believe in him.
100%. I think I'll give a little prediction. I wish I could see. It doesn't say who's pitching for the Phillies yet.
Mm.
I think Muncy stays hot. I think that hit really got him going. I say Muncy goes hot. I think we win the series 2-1.
I like that. Yeah, I was thinking it's very unlikely we leave this series still undefeated. So I'm not gonna obviously wouldn't be upset if that ends up being the case. But yeah, I'm just hoping we take the nationally televised game. Just because those always feel better, especially early season, or like early to mid season before you feel the real playoff weight. The nationally televised games, especially on Fox, always just feel a little different, and I love that. So yeah, definitely I'm expecting series win, and depending on who they have lined up, again we can't see. So if they have their lefties going, maybe it might not be a Muncy day, but I'm thinking we have a Pages, maybe not breakout, but he has a clutch hit in one of these games. A little random guess here. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. This has been our first recap podcast. Again, we'll be back every series, hopefully. Sometimes life happens, but yeah, our goal is recap every series, and then Matt's gonna have breakdowns. I'm gonna start thinking about which at bats I want to break down because I love doing those, and we'll just be back with more content. So if you enjoy what we're doing, go ahead, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Go Dodgers.